Jason Lewis was also at today's event, and of course he is challenging Democratic Senator Tina Smith for her seat. I caught up with him after the roundtable today. Talk to me about today's event. This is big for your campaign, but it speaks more to our law enforcement.
Well, it sure does, and it speaks to the fact that public safety is the government's first duty. If the government's not going to protect life, liberty, and property, as the president or vice president suggested, what's the point, right? And it's so ironic. We had actually been down to Flores Hair Design about 3 weeks ago and met with her on site. And that is a perfect example, and there wasn't a dry eye in that room when she was speaking, of what these folks are doing. The Democrat Party has become the party of this chaos and Antifa, and people say it's an exaggeration. Well, if it's not, stop them. Go in the streets and do your duty and enforce the law. And the Democrats and the Minneapolis City Council and all these cities across the country don't want to do that. And so when the Vice President talks today about the first fundamental duty of government in restoring public order, it resonates. It resonates in Rochester, it resonates in Minneapolis, it resonates all over the state of Minnesota.
He talks about helping the businesses and having the sympathy for what they've been through. Yet after the riots, President Trump did not give the federal funding for Minnesota to rebuild. People have a problem with that.
Well, look, I think the DOJ just declared a few cities anarchist cities. And they are taking a page out of the Democrat sanctuary book. If you're not going to enforce the law, remember the Clinton Cops program, that was federal money to hire more policemen and women. Now these folks, like the Minneapolis City Council and my opponent, Tina Smith, are saying, no, we're going to reimagine the police and call Dr. Phil if you have a problem instead of a policeman or woman. So why would the federal government give money for law enforcement purposes to cities and locales that aren't using it? It was Tina Smith who denied 3 times COVID relief money for businesses while indeed she supported the lockdowns. Now that's really a travesty.
When we talk about voter integrity, this is going to be an election unlike we have ever seen. We just found out today there's a bunch of absentee ballots been found in a Wisconsin ditch, and Republicans are accused of being the threat to the integrity of this election. Your response to that?
Well, that's very odd. Certainly news to former Senator Norm Coleman, who was ahead on election night, and miraculously more Democrat votes showed up afterwards. The danger in counting ballots after November 3rd is the other side will know how many votes they need. So this is a brave new world. We've never done this. Absentee votes, and normally, traditionally, you have to prove you are who you say you are. You have to have a witness to sign it for you, and it has to be in time to be processed by November 3rd. All of that's been thrown out. The Secretary of State has signed consent decree deals allowing us to count ballots until November 10th. Counting ballots after the election, obviously there's going to be problems with that.
What is your biggest problem with the way things are going right now with the way the federal government is handling the COVID-19? Or do you think it's all how it should be? Because there have been mistakes made.
Sure, there have been mistakes made, but I think that you don't lock down an entire economy, an entire state, or an entire country over what is clearly a public health challenge. But remember, we've got 7 million infections. H1N1 had 60 million. We never shut down the government. In fact, they quit testing during the Obama-Biden years after a while. There's a way to handle this the right way, especially protecting vulnerable people while letting everybody else get back to work, including kids who should not be held out from school any longer. So the best way to move forward is exactly what the president says and the vice president said today. Move forward with reasonable precautions, but move forward. We've got to undo these lockdowns, and that's why I sued Governor Walz. We heard a federal judge heard that case last week and kept referencing another federal judge who actually struck down the emergency orders in Pennsylvania as violations of folks' civil liberties. So we've got to get Minnesota back and open for business, and that's what we're campaigning on.